Yeah, I'd say that two good trends. One is that the insureds are actually contacting their brokers and contacting their insurance carriers, who are then putting them in touch with the teams that have been put in place by the carriers who have their act together. I mean, the carriers that really know what they're doing are putting in place breach teams, which include people like me on the legal side, but also forensics types, people who will handle call centers, mailings, offerings, and things like that, PR. All of those things are part of an appropriately pre-placed breach team, and the good news is that more and more companies are taking advantage of that, and that's really smart because it's efficient. You're gonna save money, save time, and get to the point much quicker if you have people doing it who do it for a living. So that's a good thing that that I see as a trend. The other good trend is, finally, that internally at companies and entities, when a breach is occurring or happens, I'm seeing more of high-level management, C-suite types be involved earlier. And that's one of the struggles we've had in dealing with breaches over the years, is they get delegated down, and ultimately decisions are needing to be made at a higher level, and that can delay things if those folks aren't involved. So I am seeing higher levels of corporate involvement earlier, which is a good thing. Well, sure, a couple thoughts. One is I see the payment card industry, or PCI, becoming a more and more frequent part of handling a breach, which is a tricky area. Is it regulatory or not from a coverage perspective? But also, it's this quasi-governmental feel to the whole thing. You can be investigated, you can be told, or will be told, you have to pay for an auditor to come in who's going to report to the PCI folks, but also to you. You have to manage that, and you have to make sure that there's accuracy in those reports. You then are open to fines. How do you deal with fines and appealing the fines? Like I said, it's not the court system, and yet you're driven into a lot of costs by that component of a breach. That's usually part of a bigger breach. Another area I see is international law. I mean, Canada, overseas, there's a lot of new laws coming into play, and most of the clients I deal with have some type of international component with some of the people whose information is involved. So that's an area that has been, I won't say ignored, but it hasn't been as big a part of the breaches as I see it now. It's growing. And then the third thing I would say is, the overall threat of litigation is growing. It's not real surprising to people who've been in the business for a while, but the litigation defenses have eroded. We used to say they were eroding. They've eroded. And although people aren't getting to juries yet, with the way the Hannaford case came down recently, and not that long back the Starbucks case, there's a greater and greater risk that juries will be reached, and that ups the ante in terms of the value of the cases, the cost of litigation, and the risk involved. So I am seeing that, I think, generate more, and I don't think it's going to change, more and more litigation at the higher end, meaning where there's bigger numbers or a bigger name target to go after if you're the plaintiff's bar.